Hi guys, so today we're going to be discussing Leetcode question 136, single number. So the question is, given a non-empty array of integers nums, every element appears twice except for one. Find that single one. You must implement a solution with a linear runtime complexity and use only extra space. So basically the question is saying that the time complexity of the algorithm that you use, time complexity should be O of n, and the space complexity should be extra space, constant extra space, so basically which is O of 1. So how can we work with this? So we're going to be using a XOR operation property. It's like a math property, and what it does is it's basically something like this. Let's say there are two inputs x and y, and we are basically XORing x and y, x XOR y. So what would be the output? So if x is 0 and it's like a, and this is also, y is also 0, the output would be 0. XOR is an operation between bits, and let's say x is 0 bit, y is 0 bit, so the output of that would be 0. Let's say x is 0, 1, the output would be 1. If x is 0 and y is 1, the output would be 1. If both are 1, then the output would be 0. So the thing to notice here is XOR is basically exclusive OR, and it gives output 1 when only one of the inputs is 1 and otherwise 0, as you can see here. So it's basically exclusive OR. So now that we have understood this, another thing to notice from here is a corollary that you can draw is any number or value XOR with itself results in 0. So let's verify this corollary. So how can we do this? So let's take an example. 11 XOR 11, the number 11 XOR number 11. So this can be written as 11 XOR 11. 11 in its binary representation is written something like this, and XORing it with this looks like this. So now, as we discussed in the truth table above, this would give us 0 since both are 1. This will also give us 0 since both are 1. This will also give us 0 and 0. So we can clearly see that any number XOR with itself resulted in 0. So 11 XOR with itself gave us 0. And let's take this example a little further. If we do 11 XOR 11 XOR a number 2, any random number 2. So 11 occurred twice and this only occurred once. So what will happen? We showed above that 11 XOR 11 would be 0. So this essentially boils down to 0 XOR 2, which is 0 XOR 2. This is a binary representation of 2. This gives the number itself. So how can we use this property? This is again 2. So how can we use this property in our code? So the idea that we're going to be use is something like this. If every element appears twice, then XOR will be 0, right? Just as we showed above. Sorry, my bad. But if there's like one element which just appears once, so in that case XOR of all elements would give us the single occurring element, because everything that's been occurring twice will result in 0, and 0 XOR the single occurring element will give us the single occurring element. So what is the algo that we're going to use? So the algorithm would look something like this. start with first value of array, that is, let's say the XOR of all elements is being stored here in the variable XOR, and let the first element be the initial XOR value, or we can do 0 XOR the first element, it would result in the same thing. Then we start a loop from I equals to 1 till I is less than length of array. This makes sense, right? We're just going over the array length, and via this the array elements. So every time you go over in this loop, so just update the XOR with the element XOR nums I. So basically every element is XORing them one by one. One thing to note here, this is the XOR operator function that we use for humans, like just for us understanding it. For the code, the XOR operation used is something like this. This is what we use. This is a character. If you press on your keyboard Shift 6, the character that you'll get is this, this is how the computer interprets how, like, you have to do the XOR operation. And once the loop has finished, then you just simply return the XOR. If XOR is 0, that means all are element occurring twice. If there's a single increment occurring once, so that is the value that we will be having in a XOR. So let's do a dry run. Of this algorithm. So how can we go about it? So let's say we have an array 4 1 2 1 2 0 1 2 3 4. These are the indexes, and let's say the array is nums. So as per our algorithm, how are we supposed to do it? The XOR would initially be the first element in the array, which is nums 0, so that is basically 4. When I is equals to 1, when we're inside the loop and I is equals to 1, XOR would be what it originally was, 4, plus the XORing the new element, the next element, which is nums 1. What is nums 1? Nums at index 1, that is 1. So let's just keep this for now. I'm not solving this. So at I is equals to 2, what would be the XOR? The next element, 4 XOR 1, which was what we had earlier, and the next element is 2. So basically XORing it with 2. So I is equals to 3. We then XOR the next element. This is what we already had, and then the new element at index 3, which is 1. I is equals to 4, because we have to iterate from the start till the end of the index of the array. So this would be our last iteration. So we had 4 XOR 1 XOR 2 XOR 1 already, and now we XOR with 2. This is the last element. So what does this give us? Notice that this 1 here has occurred twice, so this will cancel out, as it XORing this will result in 0. Oh, by the way, XOR is commutative, so you can do X XOR Y if this is a situation. This is the same as writing X XOR Z XOR Y, or Z XOR Z XOR X XOR Y. In any permutation you can write it, the result will be the same. So okay, back to our equation. So 1 is cancelled by 1 because it results in 0. Then 2 is also cancelled by XORing it with 2. This results in 0. So the only thing that we are left with is 4. And we can verify this, that 4 is the only element that is occurring once. Hence this approach gives us our answer. I hope you were able to understand this video, and I hope this video helps you how to solve this question, Leetcode question 136, single number, using this XOR property. I hope you guys like this video. I found this helpful. Have a great day, guys. Thank you.